I was gonna say,
like,
Coco, if you want to like just tilt or like move your mic over a little bit, so we can still hear you when you're looking over that way.
Oh, here.
Yeah. Just,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know it's tricky when you're like looking that way, and it's okay though.
Okay.
Yeah. You're good.
We can still hear you.
We got some chats too, by the way.
Oh yeah, Sarah in the chat. Shout out to Sarah.
Hey.
She said, I have a question for Coco. When doing your shadow work for yourself or other clients, do you often find them getting reoccurring cards and readings?
Yes. And I would like to say with tarot, it works. Like, I'm not a fortune teller. I'm not someone that can predict your future. I'm just trying to help you decipher things that that's probably already stored in your subconscious. Mm-hmm. So people will get the same cards because of one to two things. You're not doing what you need to do. You're not making any movement. You're still making like pretty much the same mistakes, and you're doing the same thing on an everyday basis, just in a different way. Or whoever is involved, there's no movement on their end. So like if you're waiting for a love life or someone to come back into you and they're not moving or they don't want to talk to you, then it's kind of like dead. So it's always going to be. So a lot of people come to me with like love readings and they want to know what's in their love life. And, I want this guy back and what is he thinking? But if they don't want you, like they're moving on with their life and there's no connection between you guys. So that's going to always be the same story.
Yeah.
No, damn. It'd be like that though. Damn. I gotta drop some of my hoes.
Life and tarot.
We had another question or another comment from Sarah. Love that the Empress card was pulled. Also a great reminder to harness that divine feminine energy around you and see that beauty in the world.
Yes. And men also have like divine feminine energy as well. I just think that they don't know how to tap into it. I think a lot of the times that men think being vulnerable is just like sharing how you feel, but a lot of vulnerability comes with you, again, showing up authentic. Like, hey, this is me. If I'm going to feel sad, if I'm going to feel happy, it's not necessarily just like always sharing. It's about just showing up and representing yourself so we can kind of get to know you at a truer level.
Yeah, definitely.
So like, I don't, because I hear that a lot, like divine feminine, divine masculine. Like, what is that? What does that necessarily mean?
So divine, just simple how I differentiate it and kind of how I live my life by is divine anyone can have divine masculine or divine energy. Wait, what am I talking about? Divine masculine or divine feminine energy. And so it's a balance within yourself, a lot of femininity and divine feminine. It's not even necessarily divine. It's just because we're esoteric beings and we have like energy. But being more feminine and being like in your feminine energy has to do a lot with flow. So letting things flow, just kind of letting like water over a duck's back, just being like more nurturing, more caring, more empathetic, more understanding, more sympathetic towards like situations and people and just like an everyday way of life. And then masculinity and divine masculine is more structure. So if you think of it, or structure, also penetrating, like doing action, just putting things like into work. And if you think about it like a river, for the water to flow, you're going to need structure. So that's why it's so important to have like balance. Because if everyone wants like a fucking water slide, there has to be that masculine and feminine type of energy to kind of, create the water for things to be even and flow and be beautiful. But then also that structure is going to keep everything in place. So it does have like a form.
It's almost like a balance between like accepting like reality and then also like not manipulating, but like taking control of reality too. That's, I think you put it better than that's the,
well, thanks. I was like, I try to do this. Everyone also has like their own I would like to share. Someone told me like a story of you can't really judge people based off of how much they need. Because some people are like, oh, you're needy and you need all this stuff. And depending on where people are at in life, it's like if someone was like starving in a desert for like a month and they didn't have anything to eat or anything to drink, and then you invite them in and you find them and like, oh my God, come to my house. And then they're eating and scarfing it down. How you're going to ingest the food and enjoy it is going to be differently. They're going to be eating the fuck out of it, probably want seconds, thirds, fourths. And you can't necessarily tell people how much they need for them to feel well. You can't be like, oh, well, you're asking for too much love if they've been deprived of it for so long. Right. So it's just like everyone has their needs, and depending on how much love or attention or empathy or whatever like we were missing or what we like had in our lives when we were younger, it's just important that other people might not have had it. So that's just something good to keep in mind.
Depends on your starting point. You got to find that the balance, like the homeostasis
Exactly.
between the kind of, fancy science word, you know what I'm saying?
I caught that.
Science.
It's
that ninth grade biology shit, that's about as far as the extent goes.
Not
but-
10th grade.
It's interesting. This is something I learned about recently, but there's something called like alexithymia, which both men and women suffer from in general. Definitely more prevalent in males, but there's so much as a thing called normative male alexithymia. So like every male suffers from this, and this is essentially
doctor.
This is essentially. Well, I learned it by watching Dr. K on YouTube, which is
Okay.
a great channel. Like you guys definitely should go check him out. Anyway, it's essentially like emotional blindness, like internal emotional blindness in the moment, like and generally afterwards, like an inability to like reflect on it and gain insight. So, yeah. Just like every dude suffers from that, like more or less. So it's kind of interesting.
Well, I mean, it's also like there's not a safe space for like when I have conversations with people, they're like, oh my God, like you're like a unicorn. But I think at the end of the day, men don't have a safe space to talk about how they feel. And I'm not going to lie, like for women, we do use our emotions to manipulate men.
Yeah.
So we're like, oh my God, well, he said he hated me. And because, like he said he didn't like me, like I'm going to use that against him. And like, I'm going to start, saving my pussy in a Tupperware.
At least it's in the Tupperware,
Hey,
Put it away,
whose roast
store it
beef
away.
is this?
And so it's just like if women were a little bit less like women are egotistical. I feel like men are egotistical, but women are also in their ego a lot of the time. And when both people can recognize like who's in front of them, and just be open and just be like, hey, I'm going to probably judge you for this. And you're like, okay, well, I'm probably going to judge you for this. And it's like, well, both of you guys are even now. So I think a lot of people want to have something to hold over other people's head, which is control.
Yeah.
So how bad do you guys want it? Right.
God damn.
Yeah, right?
That's the
I
game.
think like